Okay, we're going to call the Board of Health meeting for May 12th to order at 4 p.m. You know what, I should say that people present at the meeting are Kevin Perkins, Dennis O'Connell, Arlene Diaz, Teresa Cosio, and Gil Amato. So do we want to go first with the community garden?
Yes, start off, community garden is the first item on the agenda.
Right. Teresa, do you want me to talk about that, or do you want to talk about it?
No, you can talk about it because you were asked me to put it on the agenda.
I did. So there was a question from the people that used that community garden last year. Because all the town properties are closed, they weren't sure that they were going to be able to start gardening before everything opened up. They've assured us that there would be no more than 2 people there at any one time, that anything that they shared in terms of tools and stuff would be cleaned in between uses. And we didn't want them to miss out on the opportunity to plant when they needed to, because some of the produce from that goes to the food pantry. So the question was, did we have any concerns about it, because it had actually been closed by the Board of Selectmen, not us. But they just wanted feedback on whether or not we had any concerns.
This is Kevin. I don't have any concerns as long as they're meeting, our regulations and the state regulations of social distancing and protection and whatnot.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Dennis?
I feel the same. As long as they're following the protocol, I don't see an issue.
Okay. That was the question. They just wanted to know if the Board of Health had any issues with them potentially allowing people to start gardening when they needed to. Okay. We can move on to Cranberry Cove Camp Kiwanis.
So that's to see if you guys want to allow the Cove to open for the summer and Camp Kiwanis to open for their weddings and such, because they would need to plan for that.
Has the Board of Selectmen actually allowed them to open yet?
No, but for Cranberry Cove, if Cranberry Cove is going to open for the summer, they would need to start planning to hire lifeguards and gatekeepers and all of that stuff.
Right.
So, but and even if the town thought it could open, but the board said no, you don't want to get into that issue.
Right.
I don't think you want to
and
get into
the question is, how can they socially distance and actually open up the cove?
The state's supposed to set out guidance for that. It's supposed to be coming out shortly for camps and overnight camps and swimming areas and things like that.
The question is, though, they're not going to want to wait a month for us to have another meeting to say yes or no, because they have to start. And I know that the guidelines are going to be coming out. I guess the question is, do we not have an issue with the Cove and Camp Kiwanis opening if they follow the guidelines that are going to be put out within the next couple of days by the state?
Could we issue, as long as they follow the reopening guidelines issued by the state, maybe, once those guidelines are issued, we can make a statement
Right.
on the website or, excuse me?
Or clarification, you mean?
Yeah, can we make say something now? Issuing saying in accordance with the state guidelines that to be issued, something along those lines.
Right, because I know the state's going to be coming up, if we don't get something from them within the next couple of days, on the 18th, they will have guidelines.
Right. I mean, it's only
So I
6
guess-
days off, so.
Right. So I guess what you're saying is that Cranberry Cove and Camp Kewanee could open if they can follow guidelines put out by the state?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, this is Kevin. Yeah, I don't have a issue with that. If they can find a way to meet the requirements that the state comes out with, I have no objection to it.
Okay, do we need to take a vote on that? I don't
Yes,
think we
please.
do.
Yes.
So I need somebody to make a motion.
I'll
Dennis,
make a
were you making a
motion.
motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, in regards to Camp Kewanee, that they, be able to reopen or open in accordance with the reopening guidelines set forth by the state.
And you want that to be Cranberry Cove and Camp Kewanee.
Cranberry Cove and Camp Kewanee, yes.
Thank you. Want to hear a second?
I'll second that. This is Kevin.
Okay. Yep. And this is Arlene. Roll call vote. Dennis?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Arlene, yes. And I think the next item on the agenda is going to follow sort of the same suit. We won't have guidelines from the state until the 18th. So
Right.
we're essentially going to have to do the same thing with, they'd be allowed to open, but it would have to be following the state guidelines.
Right, for the camps,
The camp, yep.
yeah.
So I think I'm going to need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that, in the same regard as the previous, to, have the reopening guidelines set forth by the state, follow the usage of the camps.
Okay. Second?
This is Kevin. I'll second that.
Okay, roll call vote. Dennis?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Arlene, yes. So the next item says installer rules and regulations, and I'm assuming it's the application.
Yes,
Are there
I
any
sent you
other-
guys out the application last week, and at the
Mhm.
bottom,
Right.
it had the requirement for 3 current permits, and that if they haven't been permitted in 5 years, they need to submit the 3 permits, take the test, and we've talked the past couple of meetings about changing that.
Yes.
Right, but there are no other regulations around it other than what's printed on
No,
that.
just what's
form.
on the application.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
All right, so discussion?
Didn't we think it was overkill to require 3 separate current, active licenses in other towns?
I think Kevin did because he said it doesn't give somebody who's new an opportunity
And,
to start somewhere.
didn't we also say that, you can easily just go around and get those licenses and,
You can.
Actually,
It just turns into throwing money at the solution. It really doesn't require any more
Right.
experience than having no
Yeah.
license. It's just
And
you're burying a problem with money. That's all.
right, and it's no barometer of, qualifications.
No,
Like-
absolutely not.
Yeah,
Well, I think the thing is, though, if you have people that have a license in another town, you can call that town and check on what kinds of history they've had in that town. With somebody who's brand new, that you can't clarify that they've had any kind of training or that they know what they're doing, you're not requiring anything, and they can get a license and they can come into town and start on somebody's system, not know what they're doing, totally screw it up, and leave the homeowner coming to us to complain that we gave a license to somebody that didn't know what they were doing, and they're stuck with a system that's not repaired and not working.
Right, but
We had no references.
I agree with you, but at the same time, this is no different than hiring any other contractor in any trade. That whoever's hiring them, that they essentially need to do a little homework or a little
Right, buy
background
it
check of their
anywhere.
own, and see exactly who they're hiring. It's not one of those things where people just go cheapest bidder, and you get what you pay for. I think that on the bottom of this where it says also applicants who have not worked in Hanson for 5+ years must also provide copies of 3 of the town's septic installer permits where work has been performed. I think maybe we should modify that to say applicants who have not worked in Hanson for 5+ years must also maybe come in front of the board for like an interview, more or less, of their qualifications, something along those lines.
Yep, because you said there's circumstances where somebody has been working under someone else for many
Right.
years, has done it, but they don't have their own license. Now, them, we could at least check on them. But if it's somebody and we're not requesting where they've worked before and they've never had a license before, how do you check that they really know what they're doing?
Right, but I mean, anyone that's really coming in to get an install license, they've either probably good chance they've been installing septics, maybe not in Hanson, or they've been working for a company that's been installing septics. I can't, we're not going to give them out to homeowners, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But someone that they've been working for a company for say 10 years, and they decide to go out on their own. They have 10 years of experience. Maybe they've never got a permit in Hanson, but they have 10 years of experience working for a company, or someone that maybe hasn't done a job in Hanson for 5 years. I don't think it's fair to really require them to have 3 installer permits. I think we can leave it at maybe if they have licenses in the other towns, they can issue the permit, that's fine. But someone that doesn't have a license in another town, they can come in for maybe an interview or a hearing with the board before the
right, and they would
permit.
have to bring references.
Yeah. I mean, bring
yeah,
some references, a resume, something along those lines to show in good faith that they're qualified. And again, this is just qualified to take the test. They still have to pass the test. This is just to allow them to do that if they have no licenses.
That sounds good. I mean, that sounds more fair.
Right. So you're going to make a motion to amend the application? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
I think we could do that. Go ahead, Kevin.
Should we make a motion just to amend the application and we can come up with a draft and we can all sign it at the next meeting? Would that make sense?
That's fine. You could just make the recommendation to change that last sentence that you just said, instead of and adding that if people don't have a license, that they have to come before the board with references.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to amend the septic installer application to read, also applicants who have not worked in Hanson for 5+ years must also either provide copies of 3 other town septic installer permits where work has been performed, or in the event
that are current.
that are current, or in the event of no prior licenses, must come in front of the board with qualifications and references for the board to find them suitable to sit for the exam.
Okay, you got that, Teresa?
Yep, I got it.
I'll second that.
I need a second.
I second that.
Roll call. Okay. Roll call. Dennis?
Yes.
Kevin?
I'd like to modify it just one bit. I'd just like to put a note on there: we will not issue permits to homeowners.
Okay.
Very good. Yep.
Okay, so Dennis?
Yes.
We're going to take a roll call again. Okay, Kevin?
Yes.
And Arlene, yes. Okay. I think the reusable bag design is probably going to be tabled for a couple of months because we don't know when we're going to be able to use reusable bags.
Right.
And we might not know that for a little while. And the other thing is we can't implement a bag policy in July because we don't know where the state's going to be at. The state may be still saying that you can't use reusable bags. So I think that just goes into hold. It's not like we're going to try to enforce it when the state has overridden it.
Would it make sense to make a motion to table anything regarding plastic bag ban and reusable bag design until
Yes. Yep.
until further notice?
Yeah, until the state lifts their ban. Yeah.
Okay.
Either or, further notice or.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to,
So
I'll
that
make a
motion?
motion. I'll make a motion to table discussion on reusable bag design and plastic bag ban until the state lifts restrictions due
Their
to
restrictions.
COVID-19.
I'll second it.
Second. All right, we'll call vote. Dennis?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Arlene, yes. So the next item is an installer permit.
Right, so Mr. Moquin has been, I guess he's been an installer. He hasn't been an installer in Hanson, but his company has been around for 25 years or 50 years or something, and he wants to install in Hanson, but I can just refer him back to what you guys just did. Because he doesn't
Okay.
have the three
Well, that
current
answer-
licenses right now.
He does or does not?
He does not. Does not. Because
Okay.
again, a lot of people wait until they get the business and then they'll get their permit.
Okay.
So I'll just
Well-
refer him back to what you guys just passed, and he can come before the
Mhm.
board.
Is this something that, due to where we're having the virtual meetings, is this something they could maybe submit some sort of a letter with their qualifications and whatnot for us
Yeah,
to
I can have him
review?
email me something, and it would put it for the next meeting.
How would everyone feel about that? I mean, if we got a letter of recommendation,
That would be
maybe
fine.
in some towns that he does install or currently, does he have any install licenses?
I don't recall. He may have one.
Okay, maybe just see what he can put together and then we could review that, just because, we really can't meet with anyone right now, obviously.
No. And could we ask him to do the application, do the references, and we don't ask for the fee until we've given him
Yes.
the okay to take the test?
Yes.
Because we have someone else in that same circumstance.
Correct.
Okay. To me, I think that would be reasonable, because then we'd have the information that we need, so we would know what towns, we would be able to check them before we have him come before the board, and he hasn't paid anything until he's actually gotten,
Right.
Yeah, okay. That to me sounds reasonable.
Right, because right now we're still issuing installation permits and doing inspections, but we're basically not allowing someone to get an installer license.
No, because they have to come into the office to take that test.
Right.
So, and that might change on Monday. I don't know. So septic plans.
So we have
470 Pleasant 2.
Yes, and then I have a last minute addition too, which I sent you guys, 32 Beatrice.
Mhm.
But we only had 470 Pleasant on here, and this was a carryover from last month.
Yes, 470 Pleasant was a carryover. That was the one that's it's a Presby. And there was
And we had questions about it.
what wasn't allowed?
So, both of these are Presby systems, or am I losing my mind?
Yes, they are both.
Okay. Okay. So, Kevin, you had a question about them on the 470 Pleasant Street, whether or not they could ask for two things. Wasn't that your question?
Yeah,
Remember?
my question was if they could take a 2-foot groundwater reduction on top of asking for a reduction in the field size.
Okay. And did the letter answer that question?
They answered it, but did we get a second opinion from Mr. Donovan on that?
Yes, he said that they could do that.
They could. Okay.
Okay.
I think it says that
I
on
found it that I didn't see his review. I'm looking at the letter from the consultant, so
sent it to you last
I don't
month.
remember.
Right, and I'm going back trying to find it.
Okay, yeah, yep. And it's sort of the letter that they sent and highlighted. I don't know, it didn't make sense to me. It said, in no case shall the reductions allowed for the standard conditions for secondary treatment units be combined with any reductions provided by this approval. So that kind of wasn't clear to me. But if you're satisfied, Kevin, should we
I-
just go ahead and
I was just under the impression that to get to again, I'm not an engineer, but I was always under the impression to get to a 2-foot reduction, I was always under the understanding that you had to do secondary treatment. But
That's skill speaking. That's what DEP's approved that system for. They can have both. And that's where it came from, the company itself, Presby.
right. That's what I'm looking at right now, and it says, let me just see. There's a whole our certification for remedial use alternative design standards allows that the depth to groundwater may be reduced up to 2 feet. That was a letter that design review from the town of Lakeville went to Mass DEP, and Mass DEP approved it. And it was for a 2-foot reduction and 40% less effective leaching area. And that was in May. Oh, it was just in May of this year. That was a letter I think Teresa might have sent us yesterday or the day before.
Okay,
I believe also approvals there too, isn't it?
Yes, I sent you the DEP approval as well.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's attached to it at the bottom.
Yep.
Standard conditions for alternative subsoil absorption systems. Let me see. Okay. I don't know if did you see that, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking over it now. I did read it before.
Okay.
I'm just kind of freshening up on it.
If you go to the second and third pages and look at the yellow highlighted areas.
Yep. And what was the perk rate or the? I'm trying to pull up this system here because if it's less than 2,
very hard to.
I would think they could get to a 3-foot. I wasn't sure if they could do a 2 with it.
Yeah, 18 minutes per inch.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see a problem with it if they have their approval letters and it looks fine to me, I guess. And Jim didn't have a problem with it. He said it was okay.
Yep.
I think Jim initially didn't have a problem with it, correct?
Correct.
All right. So I need a motion.
And that was for, what was the address, sir? I'm trying to pull it up here.
70 Pleasant.
Okay.
470 Pleasant, right?
470?
470,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Motion to approve the plan for 470 Pleasant Street. Does this require anything from conservation?
Conservation already signed off on it.
Okay. Motion to approve the plan for 470 Pleasant Street. Does it need a deed restriction?
Yes.
Deed restriction to be recorded prior to certificate of compliance.
Was it a 3-bedroom deed restriction?
3-bedroom deed restriction, yes.
Okay. And
I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call. Dennis?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Arlene, yes. And now we move on to 32 Beatrice Lane.
Beatrice, which is not on the agenda, but just a last-minute addition.
Which is what you sent us this morning.
Correct. I sent you a couple different things on it. The revised plans, it's a sieve. Jim has reviewed it twice.
And I think that was, here we go. I didn't get to see Jim's revision. Oh, yes, there they were. I did download them, dummy. Oh yeah, this plan was really hard to look at and try to blow it up because of the stupid blue color. It's all blurred. See, this is the one that I thought, this is the one that had the addition.
Yes.
I just had a hard time manipulating it with my computer. And it was just hard to read the notes. But this one only had one variance, right?
Yeah, it's a sieve, 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
And since it's a sieve, they can't add any additional bedrooms, and the homeowners are aware of that.
Okay. And that addition that's being added is not big enough to be considered a bedroom.
It's a couple different, but they're going to keep the opening big enough so that door can't be put on it. And I've gone through all of that with them, with the homeowners.
Okay. All right. And I didn't see anything on here that said there was a deed restriction.
No, there's no deed restriction.
Okay. And there won't need to be.
No.
All right. I don't know if anyone else has questions.
Note number 7 on Mr. Donovan's notes. It says, what is the proposed addition used for? 1 or 2 stories. Provide a layout to the Hanson Board of Health.
Yeah, and we have all that. It's in the we have plans, but it's in the building department software program.
You see,
that's how this thing came up. Because they applied for a building permit.
The next sentence says, state on the plan, no bedroom, or what's the next one? Increase in flow.
Increase in flow.
Yes, and I think I did see that. I did see that.
Are those requirements that we're asking for?
Yeah, that would have to be on the plan anyways, because since it's a sieve, they can't add any bedrooms. They have to go with what's currently in the home, but it's not a deed restriction.
Right.
Oh, it's okay. And maybe I read it in the letter that it was.
There's so much back and forth with this plan.
I know I read it today that there was about the it was not going to be a bedroom, no bedroom. Let me see.
It shows it right on the addition, on the proposed addition. It says no bedrooms or increase in flow.
Right.
I know I saw it. So, and I did check the flow. So the flow is for 3 bedrooms. So this actually came back from Jim and then went back to them and
Correct.
They revised it.
Yes.
Okay.
It was initially reviewed. There were several changes that needed to be made. It was a page and a half. So I sent it back out and asked Jim to do it quickly. And he did, and he got it back to me really quickly. I sent it back out and got the revised email that I sent to you guys this morning.
This morning, okay. Because I knew this hadn't come before us. So
No. This has never been before you guys. But they have a rate that's going to expire, so they need approved plans in order to hold the rate.
Okay. I don't know if there are other questions.
I'm good.
No, I don't have any questions with it.
Okay, then I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the plans submitted for 32 Beatrice Lane.
This is Kevin. I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Dennis?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Arlene, yeah. So Gil, do you want to do the report?
Okay, I think the first thing we want to talk about is the VNA contract, which is expiring July 1st. Teresa and I are training in Maven. There's no VNA that'll contract with any town as far as a contagious disease. There are nurses out there that are possibly looking for working for towns to handle that part of it. Just got noticed today, I guess oyster season's opened up, and there's a disease that comes out with someone eating oysters, and that's part of contagious disease reporting. So in talking to other towns and also looking into what possibly we can do, the best thing we can do is hire a public health nurse part-time on so many hours a week. We're talking to a few people. Plymouth is actually trying to hire a full-time nurse, and other towns around, you know, they're kind of scurrying as to what to do. And basically what everybody's saying, a part-time nurse. A couple of towns would like to split a nurse with us, but we have to get the ball rolling. It becomes either a contract nurse or something in, as far as wage and personnel, a part-time nurse so many hours a week is what's out there as far as, you know, the different towns talking to each other. But everybody's scurrying because nobody will take on it. VNA will not take on any town.
None of them, no. And this VNA did 3 or 4 different towns. What did we set aside in the budget for the VNA contract?
$5,600 is what I have set up
so,
for fiscal 21.
Okay, so we would be able to hire somebody part-time.
Yeah.
We should look at, like, I know Whitman's going to need somebody, and I don't know if there's another town, if we could, to make it palatable for somebody to share a person.
Yeah.
We need to definitely look into that. I know definitely Whitman, and off the top of my head, I can't think of other towns, but I know that this VNA worked in and did it in other towns. And they actually didn't want to do it this past year, but they did. But I knew that this was going to be the end. And we should look at then combining our resources to be able to hire somebody.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe if we could do a 1099, that might make things easier.
Yes. Yep.
And then they wouldn't be an employee, they'd be a contractor.
Right. Self-employed. So we need to figure that out, see what Whitman has, and what if they, how many hours would we potentially think that we would need someone, and then how many hours they would be using. Because they at one point did have a public health nurse, but then I think they lost the funding, or it wasn't in their budget. So at one point they did have somebody part-time, but I would think that if we were able to get together with at least 2 towns, if not 3, we'd be able to keep somebody busy. And then we would have to figure out over the course of a year, based on what we paid, how many hours would we be able to do?
Yeah, I just want to get, just to make sure everybody's in tune with, researching this a little bit more, talking to a couple more towns, and trying to put this together.
Yeah.
Do you know any other towns?
If you guys could do a vote that you would be in favor of that, and then we could do more research on it. It would only be because Gil and I will handle the Maven, but certain Maven things you need a public health nurse
to go and do the tracing on. Yeah, the follow-up.
Yeah, and I guess TB, you have to have a nurse handle that. And obviously we are not that.
Right.
So we can handle a lot of it, but we cannot handle all of it.
Right. Okay.
So
and then we can figure out the hours and all that stuff after.
Right. This is just to get the ball rolling.
So this would be a motion for us to have staff look into hiring a public health nurse and researching what other towns are doing and potentially combining a position with more than 1 or 2 towns. Essentially is what you're asking for, right?
Correct.
Correct, yes.
Okay. So I need a motion.
So we want to make a motion to hire a
To
VNA?
research hiring a public health nurse.
Okay. Do we want to make a motion to research into hiring a public health official?
Public health nurse.
Public health.
Public health nurse along with a couple other towns. What else do I need?
Just so that someone would be effective July 1st?
Yes.
Yes, it would have to be effective July 1st, that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So that would be, that's your motion.
that's my motion.
And you're
That's
sticking
your
to it.
motion. I need a second.
This is Kevin. I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call. Dennis,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and Arlene, yes. All right, Gil.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is also, the governor's orders. The governor has come out with almost 31 orders in total as far as, retail sales and retail stores, pharmacies, supermarkets. So we're doing pretty good as far as enforcing that. But when it comes to now, we're coming up on the new orders and openings of essential businesses, and it's going to, put a strain on us as far as inspections and restaurants, as far as cutting the amount of people they can have and distancing, and just moving forward. Before we've used the the independent inspectors along with what we do, and I think we should proceed with that also. I'm limited to 35 hours a week. I've got a lot of septics go on, and there's a lot of different things that happen within the office. So I'd like to move along with the independent inspectors also. We have the girls been doing Kathy there for a while last year and everything. So between the two of us out there, getting it done, because I think everything's going to open up. Everybody's going to try to open up at once, and we don't know how many will open up. But as these places open up, they have to be inspected for cleanliness again, and also for the amount of seats they have. That has to be calculated. And that was part of the call today from the state. It was making sure that seating occupancy is brought down to what, like, say a restaurant has 100 seats, they may have to cut back down to like 40 seats. So it's up to the Board of Health to get out there and inspect this and make sure that they're adhering to the governor's orders.
But we won't know until Monday what's going to be opening back up. But these are not places that have been closed.
But some restaurants have been closed, and if they're closed, they need to be re-inspected
They would
prior
need to be inspected. Do we have many in Hanson that completely closed? I can think
Yes,
of
we have
maybe
quite
one
a
or
few.
two.
We have quite a few in Hanson that are closed.
Oh. Okay.
What? Oh.
When you say quite a few, like, Meadowbrook is opened or closed?
They open. They might have closed up over the weekend. I'm not sure. There was an incident there over the weekend, so I'm not sure their status as of yet. We have JR's is closed. We have Mo's is closed. We have Cafe Deli is closed. We have like Cafe Deli. I talked to him yesterday. He called. Now, him being closed, he's kind of redoing the restaurant. He's painting. He's cleaning. He's done this. And so he'll need a total reinspection, and then he'll have to have
Right.
a seat down. So,
Right.
it's going to take time, along with everything else that's going to be going on.
And we don't even know what the potential is for who's going to be able to open in the first phase. Is it, we don't know if the restaurants are just going to continue doing what they're doing right now, and then in a month, they're going to be able to open up. That's
the governor hasn't given guidance on that. They're going to let us know on Monday who's included in
They haven't
phase.
given anybody. They're not releasing any information until Monday.
No, we were, our webinar that we had right before we were on this call with Mass DPH said that they will release phase 1 on Monday. But it could be.
I was on that call.
Right, it could be what they did for the golf courses, and they said, you can open immediately. You can open today. We don't know. Hopefully that's not the way it's going to go, because that will be problematic.
Right.
But we won't know until Monday. And it's too much for one person to handle any restaurants and the septic and everything, because everything's going to need to be done immediately if it rolls out that way.
Right. And again, we won't know until Monday. All right. So is it just inspections, food inspections?
Well, the food inspections and, compliance, because you're gonna be doing the same thing. You're doing the food inspections and also the compliance as far as the capacity of the restaurant. So you wanna combine them together. So that just takes more time to do it. Because we'll have to get the seating on all the restaurants and then figure out figure out the percentage he's gonna give. And I get the funny feeling that he's gonna say, okay, not as of next week, as of today, this is what we're gonna do. Just like he did with the golf courses. As of today, this is what we did. The golf courses were done the night before, and they knew about it before we did, coming into the office
But
that
they
morning.
weren't opening up restaurants. They were just opening up a field, where people weren't going to interact. So, which is a little different. They could open up overnight, and it was no big deal. The restaurants, you can't do.
So you
that.
don't know. Like on the call today, you were on the call today. I mean, who knows what he's gonna do?
Right.
And
I
he's holding it till Monday, so I think we have to, kind of anticipate what he's planning on doing.
All right. I have a question. You're saying inspections and compliance. So are you expecting this person to go out and do the inspection and then go back a week later to make sure they're complying with the inspection?
Oh, you go back to make sure they're complying.
But Kathy's only gonna be doing inspections.
Inspections, yeah.
Kathy's
She's
only
going
doing,
to be doing inspections.
that's what she said.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, all right.
That's my
Yeah,
question.
Kathy would only be doing inspections.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
I'm also out complying with, Shaw's. I go do all the complaints of Shaw's, Dollar Tree, the Dunkin' Donuts. I'm out there, probably, maybe 5 hours a week just for compliance, complaints, people complaining. Someone get too close to here, or there's a cross missing at Shaw's. Because people are complaining.
Yeah, there's people complain about everything.
Yeah, so
And
I got,
can tell you,
go ahead.
sometimes they complain for no reason. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, being in the health agent, I have to
people
answer
come in.
all complaints. I have to go out to every complaint.
Right. And I've been there in Shaw's, and I've seen people come in, and I've said to them, do you realize you need to wear a mask? And they've been polite, and they've said no. It was actually the first day that went into effect. They weren't nasty, but then there was one guy that ran in the store and took off, and nobody could figure out where he went. I can tell you I haven't seen a lot of that going in and out of places. I went to Shaw's, I don't know, over the weekend. They got in line. They went in and out the same door. People weren't nasty. They sort of were complying. So I'd be surprised if you're continuing to get complaints other than people that are just grouchy.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Mayette's a couple of times. The clerk there, she had a couple of issues with people, and I made copies of the order, and they posted it up, and people are pretty good. But you have people, the different complaints I got on, like Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree stocks their store during the day, so the aisles were, there were too many boxes in the aisles for people to practice safe distancing. So I had to go to Dollar Tree and say, look, you got to clear the aisles, and the aisles have to be one way, and things like that. They're happening all the time. I mean, Dunkin' Donuts, if I get complaints a week on Dunkin' Donuts, I have to go to all 3 stores at Dunkin' Donuts to make sure things are going good. So,
have you heard anything about Shaw's going back to staying open till 10 at night?
No, I haven't heard that yet. No, I heard they're going to cut the hours back.
I was told last week that they were actually going to go back to staying open till 10.
No, I haven't heard that yet, but
I just wondered. Okay.
And mentioning Shaw's, I've got there's going to be some perk tests and observation holes out there, and I'm going to be out there with the engineer. We're going to see what has to be done at that septic system, and also maintain the Shaw's will be open the whole time the septic system is going to be repaired. Because what's going to happen is the company's they're going to have to pump the septic tank like every couple of days. So keeping a close eye.
Right. And are they also still going to add another grease trap?
He's not sure yet.
Okay.
That's what the test holes and the perk tests are going to take. He's going to look at different things and why the system failed once they start doing the test holes in the system again.
Okay.
So this is all time-consuming stuff, and we just got to plan. The thing is, everybody's planning for the day, but we have to think about what's going to happen in the next couple of months. I don't think everything's going to be open up as soon as they do, as soon as everybody thinks they will do. I think it's gonna happen over a longer period of time, but, you know, everybody's anxious, they wanna get going. And getting going, we have to keep
Right.
compliance with everybody too, so.
So I guess what we should do now is just vote on using using a person for food inspection. If there's a rush on food inspections, after starting the 18th, which I'm sure stuff's not going to open right away. But anyway, I think we need to take a vote on being able to do that. And do we have budget money before we even do that, Teresa?
Yes?
Do we have money in the budget, that a line item that we can take that from?
I'm sure we can find it someplace.
Plus, this would be also, would put in the, you know, when we get together with the, you know, town administrator, we'd also put this into the COVID-19, you know, stressing the town budget for this.
Right. And there's actually, we might potentially be able to get reimbursed for extra staff because of that. We'll have to make sure that we make him aware of it. All right, so I guess I need a vote to say that we will authorize an independent person to come in and
Yep.
assist with food inspections.
I'll make a motion to acquire subcontractor services for food inspections due to the heavy demand coming up anticipated.
I'll second.
Okay, Dennis,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and Arlene, yes. All right, go ahead, Gil.
Yeah, the next thing, well, you know, we still, the phone ban will still take effect July 1st. So that's another issue coming up also. So even though the plastic bag ban's on hold, the styrofoam ban, you know, is still in effect July 1st, which Dunkin' Donuts, the biggest user of styrofoam, will be in compliance, but the restaurants, I'm not sure. I believe probably most of them will be in compliance as far as, you know, no use of styrofoam.
Right, and they'll have a month to, you know, hopefully they'll in the next 6 weeks they'll have an opportunity to get to some level of even halfway. But maybe at some point in June we'll just send them out a reminder saying that, you know, the styrofoam July 1st can't be used. The thing is, they probably weren't able to use in most places if they're not open, or if they've reduced, they can't use the stock that they've had. I don't know. So I don't know. I can only think of one place that I know that uses styrofoam. So I don't know. But I think we should get them a reminder on the styrofoam, because we can't do the bags. We can't do anything right now about the bags.
Yeah, when I went out to the different stores and the restaurants and stores and everything, I, you know, explained everything to them. I gave them copies of the bylaws. Most of them got a good heads up, but that'll be part of the inspections too. You know, making sure they conform to the styrofoam ban.
Yeah, well, any of the places that closed wouldn't have used up whatever resources they had, the supplies.
Yeah,
Like Cafe Deli.
once they open.
Right, depending on what capacity they can open at. Because if he wasn't even open doing takeout, maybe he would consider opening and just doing takeout like a lot of other places are doing, until they can get back up to some level of capacity. All right. What else?
I think that's about it. Just the call today, there's a couple other issues, but, you know, as far as, you know, enforcement and checking, that comes with the deal. You know, as far as every order that comes out from the governor to the Department of Public Health to the local Board of Health for enforcement, so. And like I said, there's been over 30-something orders from the governor to the Department of Public Health, so. It's quite a bit.
When you get them, he numbers them. Ron O'Connor numbers them.
Yeah.
So we either got 30 or 31 yesterday or today. Yeah, he numbers them.
31.
Did you follow up on the question on Woodbine Avenue?
Which Woodbine Ave?
The group home.
The group home. I got a call on it. That's governed by the state.
Right. I know that. I didn't respond to the email because I felt like, number one, it's really nobody's business. The question they were asking is I'm sure they were concerned about COVID. And number one, that's not something you'd be able to tell them, but that residence has been there for 20 plus years and they've never had an issue with anyone in that neighborhood. So what's the issue now? They don't come in contact
I don't know,
with people in
I
there?
spoke to the gentleman personally. I goes, you know, what,
Right.
and he told me the neighborhood just wants to know. I goes, no, the neighborhood doesn't have the right to know. It's a state-run.
They don't have the right to know. And like I said, that residence has been there for over 20 years. They don't come in contact with the residents. They don't come in contact with the staff. So what's different now? And if there was something, it's none of your business. It's protected by HIPAA. So it's questions that you can't ask. It's no different from me having my next door neighbor having HIPAA. If they had COVID over there, it's none of my business. Number one, I'm not going in their house.
Right.
But it's not information that if we had it, could divulge to people. And I don't understand why they decided that they wanted to pick on that particular resident.
I believe I answered his questions pretty good. I went personally down there and talked to him.
Okay. Because the house I live in was a group home for 20 or 30 years. When my
Right.
parents moved out, that's what they did. They had a group home here, and we didn't have a problem with it. Luckily, we didn't have any neighbors to complain.
Yeah.
But I just was like, why are you singling out this particular resident when it's no different from anyone on the street? If something was going on in their house, it's none of your business. All right. As long as as long as he got the answer that he needed, that it was none of his business.
Right. All I got today.
Anything else? Huh?
That's it.
And what's happening with the other septic stuff you got going on? Do we have installations, inspections?
I've got probably two going on right now. Quite a few will get finished. I got probably 1, 2, 3. 3 actually going on, maybe 2 to start in the next week or so.
Okay. All right. I don't know if anybody else has any questions.
I'm okay here.
No, I don't have any questions.
Nope. And I was thinking about something for next month's agenda, but I don't remember what it was. So, are you all set with signing everything? All the bills? All the warrants?
Yes. We're all set with that. We
Yep.
got no issues.
All set.
Okay. 1 second. So I guess if we don't have any further agenda items, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Dennis,
Yes.
Evan,
Yes.
and Arlene, yes. Meeting is adjourned at 4:53.